So we had a conversation like last week, kind of about talking about the interest rates and everything, because everybody always talks about the doom and gloom of it, right? So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions regarding, like what is the better option? Like, is it fixed or variable rate mortgages? I've had quite a few conversations with like clients lately and friends and things like that about this topic. And there's not really like people. It seems like people always kind of go one way because they don't necessarily know much about variable rate mortgages. So I thought that this would just be an interesting opportunity to kind of show people visually what the options are rather than just blindly seeing, the numbers and not really knowing what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's talking about interest rate right now is so topical, and there's always that, somebody's always championing fixed rates and somebody's always championing variable rates and stuff. On our side, because we're technically experts to the field, we take an advice approach, right? So certain clients, we definitely look at their goals first, right? And say, okay, well, if you're getting a mortgage, are you going to be there for a long time? Is it something that's short term? That's definitely a material information to help us figure out the term of the mortgage. But there's also a risk tolerance, right? So if you're somebody that will lose sleep because you're into a rate that can go up or go down and so on, that's definitely a factor as well. There's also exit strategies that we have to think about. So if you're looking at flipping a mortgage, with an exit strategy of, I don't know, a year and a half, that might sway us, from one type of mortgage, over another. If it's going to be 6 months or less, maybe open versus close. So definitely outside of those are the main factors that we look at. Like I said, your risk tolerance, your term, how long your goals are on that. And then obviously, like I said, when it comes to your intent as far as an exit strategy is concerned, those are material information. Now, the fixed versus variable question, one of the things that that we do in our team is that we don't just like talking about it, we have to show it, right? Because again, there's usually people that champions one. I'm a big fixed person, I like fixed, and I think it's foolish for people to be on the variable, especially when we're expecting rates to go up really high. So true, but it's so general. It's so general where you go, okay, what context are we talking about there? Is it right if we're talking about the numbers, financial benefits of it? Let's work on the numbers. What are the fixed rates being offered? And let's compare that to the variable rate, and we'll actually quantify how much those potential savings, if there is any, to go on the fixed. And then you have the people on the variable rate side where you go, no, it's variable has been the better product historically for many years, and so on and so on. So they champion the variable because it's worked in the past. And you go, okay, well, that's true. Again, nothing, it's not a false statement either, but it's better if we take a look at it today, right? Because whatever happened in the past is great, and it helps us, our thought process for today and the future. But the reality is no different than a fixed rate, that somebody that champions a fixed rate, knowing that maybe a variable rate is good, but show me is the idea, right? How would it be good? How is it material today? Because today is a different market. It's not a flat market, right? We're thinking our interest rates are going up and continue to go up. So that's usually our approach. And if it's okay with you, can I run through a scenario with you? I'm going to share my screen if it's okay.
Yeah, I would love that. Let's go.
Okay. So there is this, give me a second here, calculator that I use and my team uses. Basically, we use this to compare fixed versus variable, but it also gives us a few different advice points that we can discuss. Now, this scenario it's a fictitious scenario. It's a scenario where somebody purchased a property for $700,000. Now, again, it's not a real purchase, but what would a $700,000 technically get us in the areas that you operate in, Chantelle?
Like probably a condo. Yeah, like a
Okay.
2-bedroom condo.
So so this kind of purchase price is ideal for a first-time
First
home
time
buyer,
buyers.
maybe
Yeah. Yeah,
even an
for sure.
investor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So a $700,000 purchase, obviously in Peel, might be a condo, 2 bedrooms. Let's assume that we're putting 20% down. So that's $140,000 down payment. So we're going to get a mortgage of around $560,000. Now we're using 30 years as the amortization. So that's, as much as we're putting 20% down, 30 years, the longest we're able to stretch it out for. The main reason we do that is make sure that the payments, the monthly payment is in check, at least the minimum. Now this 5.29% is a sample of a 5-year fixed rate today. So we're talking in beginning of July. It can go up and down depending on the scenario. It actually just recently go down because of the Canadian bond yield has been down. So as of today, which is July 7th, 5.29 5-year fix is a real number, right? As an example, today's prime is at 3.7%, right? So that's what the Bank of Canada, actually the financial institutions control, but this current prime rate is affected by the overnight lending rate. So if the Bank of Canada increases the interest rate, potentially this prime rate will go up. If they keep it the same, obviously it'll stay the same. If they bring it down, the overnight lending rate, it could potentially go down. So we put in a discount of 0.35 or 35 basis points on this. Now, normally when we go through this process of comparing fixed versus variable, we go through the process saying, okay, well, Chantelle, what are we expecting for the next, 12 months or the full 5 years of it, as far as rates are concerned, right? Where we are today, technically a lot of the economists are predicting a 75 basis points increase for the next Bank of Canada meeting. So the next meeting is July 13th. 75 basis points. So technically where we sit today, I'm saying on month 1 of getting this mortgage, going from a 3.7% prime, we're going to increase it by an additional 75 basis points the moment that the Bank of Canada makes their announcement. But that's an assumption, it's a forecast. But we're not just forecasting, 75 basis points. We can forecast based on what information we have, and also information that's potentially what the client may be predicting themselves. So it doesn't have to be, our own personal predictions. It could be predictions that a client may have on their own. Now, to share a little bit based on what we know today, we've got, out of the big 6 banks, 4 of those, namely CIBC, National Bank, RBC, and TD, are predicting an additional 1 full percent increase, right? So right now we've applied 75 basis points. So if we're using that analysis or that forecast, we have to put in another 25 basis points increase over and above the first month. Now, there's 2 of the major 6 banks. So that's BMO and Scotiabank. Those 2 major financial institutions are predicting an additional 1.5% increase. So not just 1, it's 1.5. So for our example here, I went with the higher one.
Yeah.
So I put in, you'll see here, 75 basis points on month 1, another 50 basis points on month 3. So this is July, this is September, and this is October. Sorry, the month 4 is October. So in total, that's 1.5% increase. So you go, okay, well, you know what? I think we're being fair from that perspective, actually a little bit more conservative because it's a higher of the 2 major predictions, right? So again, depending on the client, if the client wants us to put 2% increase to be even more conservative, we can do that on our analysis. But like I said, this is an analysis rather than championing one product over another product just because. So one of the things that we do is we look at them and make the comparison and say, okay, well, Chantelle, given that we started off at 5.29, 5-year fixed, we compare that to 3.35%, so that's prime minus 0.35, we see that there's a 1.94% interest rate difference. Perfect, it's good to know, right? So technically, if we were accounting for a 1.5% increase, that means that we still technically save another 44 basis points, no matter what, even after the change, right? But on the inputs that we have, if we had the 5-year fixed, 30 years amortization, $560,000 mortgage, your fixed payment on the 5 years, if that's really a product that you're considering, your minimum monthly payment is around $3,106 per month. Now, your variable rate payment will start at $2,468. So that's a difference of $638.23. So again, it's a payment difference. It's good to know. But one of the things that we're going to analyze later is that as we go through that, what would be the impact of, that payment difference if we're seriously considering the 5-year fix and we take the variable rate. But let's set that aside for now. You'll see that rate by rate comparison alone, you'll actually save around $3,500, $3,200, $3,700, $3,400, and so on. It's around $19,000 worth of interest cost savings, even after we took into account that 1.5% increase, right? Given the fact that we've taken the variable rate,
factored in the increases, that's still how much you'd save at the end of the 5 years.
At the end of the 5 years, exactly. So it's okay. Well, that's good to know. We've got $19,000 there. But one of the things that prompted us to actually do this call is it's like, okay, well, is there anything else? It's one thing to say, we've got a good way to pick one product or another, right? Like it's not just we don't just take the notion that I like this because this is it. No, you may like that, but let's analyze and go through this process, because at the end of it, if you said $19,000 of interest savings is really not enough for a $560,000, I'm like, at least I'm able to feed you the information, and you still go with the 5-year fix. I'll be okay with that, and I would say, hey, Chantelle, that's great. But you came in with context, make the decision, and say, is $19,000 interest savings enough for you to go into a variable rate? But there's also the next level, and I think this is something that you caught on fairly quickly the last time we spoke.
Yeah, see, this is where it gets exciting, because I feel like this is what a lot of people don't realize, like the strategy that you can using like if you get a variable rate mortgage. But yeah, anyways, go on. I'll stop talking.
No, it's you prompted us to actually talk more about it. Prompted us to say, hey, you know what? It is a material difference, because as we were discussing, it's like, all right, well, there is a difference of $638 per month, assuming the interest rate we're going to be the same initially. But if you had a client that's seriously considering a 5-year fix at that $3,106 a month level, what would happen if we said, let's make an increased payment of $638 a month. So if you increase your payment by $638 a month over the minimum payment, and you'll see here that your payment changes as rate changes, but let's just assume that we broad brush $638 a month is something that you can afford anyway. Because sometimes we get clients like, people are thinking that you can hammer down interest costs by saving another 5 basis points or 2 basis points or 10 basis points on the interest rate by squeezing the lenders and all that stuff. It's great to, obviously save on interest that way. But one of the bigger ways to save costs is to attack the principal, right? And one way to do that is increase your payment. So if you were saying, I can afford another $638 per month on my regular payments, you can see here that one, obviously your interest cost, interest saving goes from 19,000 to 22,000, right? Obviously, because the principal is going down, so they're only applying a certain level of interest. So you save an additional $3,000 there, which is significant enough. But the big difference is this: at the end of the 5 years, you'll save $41,000 on the mortgage balance to a total of 63,700. That's a big impact.
Yeah. So it's pretty
Right.
much like if you were able to technically afford the higher rate anyways, you might as well just get the lower rate, but then make the payment the same as the higher rate. So then you're actually paying more down of the principal, and you're actually like, paying down more of what actually counts rather than paying more interest.
Exactly. So you don't have to go all the way to $638 a month over the minimum payment. It could be
Anything.
150, any number.
Yeah.
But people disregard this amount. People think, like I said, there's always the concept of, did you get the best rate possible? Oh, I got another 5 basis points less. But people don't realize, like, no. If you really want to save cost and actual cost, both on the interest and the principal, do this. And I said, I know you caught it, and you caught it pretty fast, and you got pretty excited about that. And I was like, yeah, people don't realize that that's.
I'm such a nerd. I'm like, it makes me excited talking about interest rates, but it's true, because like it's like huge savings, and I feel like a lot of people don't look at it this way. I feel like a lot of people, just see that it's like either fixed or variable, and they're like, oh well, variable is too much risk, so they get nervous. So
no, I guess, and it's great that you saw it right away, and it's great that, again, people are so hyper focused on interest rates. Whether or not it's still controversial to some people. It's like, because some people are really championing one, for fixed versus the variable, and it's always something at any given market. There's always somebody that's gonna always like the fixed, and somebody's always gonna like the variable. So that's something is that we go through that process. So it's an objective analysis, and we quantify really how much savings. But over and above that, people are talking about, it's like, okay, well, I got this rate versus, people are comparing numbers. Like, it's, mine is this number versus your number is who's lower and all that stuff. Not thinking like, yeah, of course, it's a point of comparison. But if you really, really want to save, get the best, best product for you, get the best rate possible that you can get. But at the same time, don't forget, the earlier you hit that principal by increasing your payment, the lower your actual cost might be. So you save more.
Yeah, for sure. But that one was on the lower one without the increases, right? So could we show them like what it would be with the increases as well, just so that it's
perfect? I will. So that one is this. So we made the comparison based on the 3.35% interest rate. Now, as we did before, you will see at the bottom part here, after the first month, there's an increase to 4.1% because we applied a 75 basis points increase. And then on month 3, I applied another 50 basis points. And then after month 4, another 25 basis points. So this 4.85% is really at the highest level that we have. And we're saying the minimum payment on that is $2,955. Again, let me reference back these numbers. We're saving $22,000 on interest, $41,000 on balance, a total of $63,000.
Yeah, which
very significant.
Yeah, and like that's what it was, but that's what, like, this shows the opportunity with these rates. But now we're going to show like what it actually is. You're still going to save money. Obviously, it's not going to be as much, but even factoring in those increases, you're still going to save, which is like, why wouldn't you want to save more?
Exactly. So this is where you go. At the worst case scenario, we go, you know what, Ray, after the higher level payment of $2,955, I don't want to pay an additional $638, but I can afford this, the $3,106. So let's say it's a difference of $151 a month. Even from that perspective, right? So you go, well, you'll save $19,000 of interest, because like I said, there's still a difference between the 4.85 versus the 5.29. But $12,000 is still
A
a
lot of money.
significant portion. And if you're seriously considering paying 3,106 on the 5-year fixed anyway, it's the same payment, but you'll save an additional $12,000. So technically, almost $32,000 in interest costs and balance savings versus the interest savings of around 19,000. It's significant enough. But
Yeah,
if
for
you,
sure. Like
yeah,
why put that extra, 12 or like, yeah, 12,000 approximately into the bank's pocket when you could put it in your own pocket and like, invest in your own, future or like, well,
yeah.
your property, you know what I mean? Rather than paying a higher interest rate. I
Again,
think it makes sense.
it helps you build up equity on your home because you're paying it
Mhm.
down, right? And at the same time, like I said, the total cost is interest cost is also a savings. As long as you already had the mindset that you were seriously considering 3,106 anyway, right? It's like it's almost like I said, this gives you, yes, the secured payment on the 5-year fix, but the interest savings on the variable based on that analysis, right? So, and it protects you from future rate increases because you're not, if you set the payment at 3,106 and the rate continues to go up, your payment technically doesn't have to go up. You keep it at 3,106, right? So you don't feel the up and down payment increase
Yeah.
because
You're
you've
already
already
paying
set it to a
more.
higher level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're paying more to begin with, but instead of just paying that amount and then it being so much of it going to interest, you're actually paying more in your principal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts? Any comments, any inquiries, or?
No, I remember like last week when we spoke about this, whatever, I got so excited because I was like, wow, like this is so smart. Cause it's just, yeah, you're right. Like it's just extra savings. And yeah, like that's why I wanted to, do this visually on Zoom so that we could kind of record it and then put it out to our clients and on Instagram and stuff like that because I just feel like it's such a good like such good information to know and that like it's something that not a lot of people know about necessarily or can like they can it's hard to conceptualize without seeing it, so having you explain it to us is like very very helpful and yeah,
Thank you.
you're
No, like I said,
amazing at what you do, so
the concept is not new, right? It's not something
yeah.
that we invented or anything. And people know about it conceptually because people will say, yeah, if I increase my payment and so on, but they don't realize the impact of what that increased payment might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that's the key. It's not just talking about it, show it. If you're able to show it and you see the impact, then it may motivate one more client to, yeah, save some more, save another $12,000 or save an additional $31,000 on their mortgage. And I think that's a real good way to have control over your, household finance and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And like either way, like, I think it's just about knowing your options and actually like
Mhm.
being able to make an educated decision rather than just kind of blindly making decisions, not actually knowing what the options are.
Now, obviously, if I can take the opportunity of having a real estate expert on a call with me, can I ask you a couple of quick questions?
Sure.
Perfect. So one of the things that I hear all the time is I'm being asked, is it a good time to buy? And I always say, talk to an expert because technically on the real estate side, that's you need to be able to communicate that and show it. So I got to stay in my lane on the mortgages. Now, talking to a real estate expert like you, what would your 2 cents be if somebody asked you, Chantelle, is it a good time to buy today?
Yeah, so I do think obviously, the rates have gone up. Everybody knows that. But I do think that it's a good time to buy. And the reason being, especially for people like first time buyers, it's a really great opportunity because the past couple of years with the interest rates being so low, there was so much competition on every home or house that you're like putting in an offer on. So actually getting a house in general was just so hard and draining for my clients. And then another thing too is when there's so much competition on all the homes, you're you're waiving your condition of inspection, your condition of finances, and all these things, all of these safeguards that should really be built into an offer to kind of protect you. So now that, the market has cooled off a little bit, it's a good time for first-time buyers to get into the market, because now, there's more opportunities, like there's more homes and less competition, and you can protect yourself more. So you can put in those conditions, condition of finance, condition of inspection, and you have a little bit more negotiation room as well. And you're kind of protecting yourself more in that regard. So yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for sure to get into the market, especially if, before you were looking, and then so many people got burnt out from COVID, because like putting in offers, and like you put in a really good offer over the asking price, and then it still goes like 100K or 50K over what your offer was. So it was just getting to ridiculous numbers. And I think overall, this is good for the market, what's happening.
I agree. It's a good time.
It couldn't just keep going up like that. You know what I mean? So it had to kind of plateau a little bit and come down a little bit to be more reasonable. So yeah, to circle back, I do think that it's a good time to buy, especially for first-time buyers or anybody that's looking to get into the market.
Perfect. So if you have, I guess, a poll on what type of buyers are buying right now, you mentioned, one major one is first-time home buyer. Is there another type?
Yeah. So I would say like move-up buyers as well. So anybody who, maybe owns a condo right now or something like that, and they're looking to, maybe buy a townhouse or something. Of course, maybe your property's not worth as much as it was in January, February, but the same goes for that property that you're looking to buy. So it's all relative. And so, yeah, it's all relative. So we have seen a lot of move-up buyers looking as well. And some investors as well are kind of watching the market. So see what happens. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
It's great talking to you always. And
yes, thank you so much for doing this with me. Once when we first had our conversation, I was like so excited to just do a video with you, because I knew that this was like something that like my mind was blown pretty much. Like I knew the idea, but just I guess I never really thought about it deeply like that. And having you explain it to me, and having you explain it to everyone that's going to see this, is going to be, I think it's going to be really, really helpful for them. And yeah, so thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this with me.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, I will. Thanks, Ray.